be doing a lot of going to be doing some reading of this because there's so many stats and dates and everything along those lines. So I'm just going to get going. And thank you, Yael, for recording. Okay, so obviously, what we're doing here is keys to fair housing. And we're going to go over the current regulations and just how to stay compliant, which is just an important thing to do. Okay, so the Fair Housing Act, the protected classes that we have that we're working with now: disability, race, sex, national origin, religion, and family status. Now, Rhode Island has more. We've really kind of taken a lead on this, and the protected classes in Rhode Island are all of these 16. So it's race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, that was brought on as well, gender identity or expression, marital status, lawful source of income, which is interesting, military status as a veteran with honorable discharge or an honorable or general administrative discharge, service members in the armed forces, country of ancestral origin, that's in a few other states as well, disability, of course, age, familial status, or regardless of the fact that a tenant or applicant or a member of the household is or has been or threatened with being the victim of domestic abuse. I think that was pretty interesting. Or that the tenant or applicant has obtained, sought, or is seeking relief from any court in the form of a restraining order. So those are the pieces that are in Rhode Island. So as you see, and you're taking fair housing anywhere, there's a lot more to think about in Rhode Island. And I have I've got a list of this as well that I can share.
Oh, thank you.
If needed, because there's a lot. It's a lot of it.
Can you share that with me?
I will definitely, yes.
Because I'm trying to write it down and forget it.
Oh, no. Or you can take a screenshot if you want, definitely. But yeah, there's a lot to it. Rhode Island is just really forward thinking on all this. So the Fair Housing Practices Act, and I will send you a list of this as well, is the civil rights, age, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, and victims of domestic violence status. So these really in the Rhode Island Fair, Practices Act, this is just the definition of what these things mean. So there's not a lot in there, but it is the point of what all this stuff means, which is the down and dirty on it.
Yeah, you got to know the definitions of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Rhode Island has a Fair Housing Equal Opportunities Zoom class. This might be something to take. You were licensed kind of recently, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you have had a chance to take any of these, but you have to every 3 years. You have to take ethics and fair housing every 3 years when you're licensed.
I just took that one yesterday. Let me tell you,
Oh,
2 hours.
Oh my God! Well, Jamal, here you are again going through fair housing.
I did that. I just did that and did the ethics one. I did both of them. So 4 hours of time to do both of them on there, but at least it's finished.
At least it's finished, right? And it's every 3 years you got to do that, and it's not necessarily the same year. So of course, renewals in Rhode Island are every 2 years. So they'll send you a notice if you haven't done it. Did you get a notice, Jamal?
Not for the Fairhaven. I just know from the training. I got the notice to renew my license in April for Rhode Island, but for the fair housing one, it was just that we was on the call. Then they told us about it because I know if you submit the information over for EXP that you done, you got entered to something. So I was like, I'll do that. And the ethics is every year. So
got it. Okay. Anyway, if anybody wants to take this is 3 CEUs. So when you go through your CEUs, you have to have 9 that are core, and these are core. But just in case you want to take it again, but you probably, Grace, you have some grace period.
I do, yeah.
You do, you're good.
And not to cut you off too, I know I did it for Massachusetts on NAR, and for members it was free for it because usually it's $50 for it. So if you're not renewing your license, but then you have to take it because of how it is, it's free right now for it. So you don't have to pay the $50 for it, but
Oh, that must be that's this too. This is a free one. It must be all the same thing. Oh, that's good to know. Thanks. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, okay, complaint data by agency from 2013 to 2023. So it goes up, it's, goes up and down with 2023 pretty high on this. Regarding different complaints. DOJ, Department of Justice, of course. I'm gonna have to read this part of it because there's a lot to it, so I apologize for doing that, but. An HOA in Texas who had growing concerns about crime and property values adopted a rule providing owners from renting to Section 8 tenants. The local housing authority filed a complaint with HUD alleging the HOA was discriminating based on race and other protected classes. After investigation, HUD issued a determination that the HOA discriminated and that Texas legislature passed a bill prohibiting HOAs from banning Section 8 tenants. And then in October of 2024, the DOJ announced a landmark agreement of over 6.5 million to resolve allegations that the Citadel Financial Credit Union, which is probably in Charleston, engaged in a pattern of lending discrimination by redlining predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhoods in and around Philadelphia. That this was only the last year. This is crazy. This was just recently. But obviously it's still happening, but you look at that 6.5 million from Citadel Federal Credit Union. It's just amazing that this stuff is still going on. Just amazing.
Carolyn, really? I mean, considering the way our government is, the way not our government, but I'm not trying to get political. I mean, more our society. Our society is going backwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
We're probably going to see more and more of this.
All right, and there's one more too. In January this year, a short 3 months ago, the acting United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York announced the filing of a new lawsuit. According to the allegations against Latier Construction, areas in the new apartment buildings were inaccessible. The inaccessible conditions included excessively high thresholds at building entrances and entrances to common use areas and bathrooms in individual apartments that lack sufficient clear floor space for people who use wheelchairs. These features did not meet the standards set forth for the Fair Housing Act. Fair housing is still a challenge, and every year there are headline-making cases that show that we still have a long way to go from preventing discrimination in housing. And I don't know that it's area, it's not just in one. You can't really say, okay, there's more discrimination in this part of the country and not others. I think it's mindset, unfortunately. All right, let's see. So just redlining, I know you all know what this is, but just how it started, it refers to the practice of denying loans or other financial services. This is how it started, was in the mortgage industry, to residents of specific neighborhoods, often based on race or ethnicity, which historically led to the segregation and impoverishment of these areas. So when you think of this, and there's different parts of the country or the city that has a concentration of a certain type of people. This is why it was put together. Just don't even get me going on that stuff. Okay, so familial status. This is still discrimination, familial status. Families with children under 18 are protected under the Fair Housing Act. So the consequence, $35,000 settlement and required training. Let's not do that. A landlord cannot say families with children can only rent on the first floor because of the noise factor. Has anybody come across any of this?
No.
No. That's good. Okay. Disability accommodation refusal. An example, Margarita rents a home in River City. Following an automobile accident, she's accident, she is required to use a wheelchair for mobility. She wants to build a ramp to access her front door. The property management company denies Marquita, request to build a ramp. Be aware that reasonable accommodations or modifications are protected under the law, and that might mean a landlord must adapt the property to accommodate the individual. The part of that too, yes, they might need to adapt it, but the person asking for it also might have to pay for it in a case like this, so.
And you don't have to show any type of proof of documentation for that if they already take it. If not, they're just being biased based off of what I learned yesterday as well. So they don't have to really show that if you see them like that, there's a reason.
What do you mean, Jamal?
You don't have to give them like a doctor's note or
Uh,
something like that. You don't have to give that type of documentation, especially if it's disability. If they feel like they're not going to do that, then you can make the claim towards it that you're discriminating because you see that when it comes to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Regarding the lease agreement, the tenant should review their lease. Some agreements may specify who is responsible for modification, so that's where that comes in as well. Related to that, accessibility. And locally, I'm not sure what we've got in Rhode Island locally on that. I'll have to look that up. Okay, Section 8 housing voucher landlords. So Section 8 obviously is a federal program available in all 50 states that helps very low income families. I looked at this in Rhode Island. There's a 3-year waiting list for Section 8. So it's not like it's easy to get, but once you get it, you can't discriminate obviously against anyone that has it. Vouchers can be used with any qualifying rental that meets health and safety standards. So the key points: families can choose where to live as long as the property qualifies. And of course, their income and whatnot. Public housing agencies, PHAs, manage the program locally, and the government plays a part of the rent. I'm sorry. The government pays part of the rent directly to the landlord. Tenants pay the rent based on their income. Families must meet income limits and citizenship or immigration status requirements. Eligibility is based on total household income and family size. And I think it goes up to a family of 9. And how much they can make. That is also, we have that in Rhode Island. I've got the links for you there. Does anyone deal with Section 8 or have they, or are they in the middle
Yes,
of it?
I was gonna say something. I deal with several. So I deal with father bills, home base, Section 8, and Raft, but Raft and home base could work together. Raft and Section 8 can, because Raft gives only a certain up to $10,000 a year for and helps with
Oh.
moving expenses. Home base pays up to you have to pay 30% of what you get, but they would give you about 24 months, I mean 48 months, I'm sorry, with funding aside. So some people get 30 to 40,000, they put some aside and they would give the landlord the money. They have to create an account. They automatically deposits in there for you. But with all these, you got to make sure, one, it is Section 8 approved, basically for paint, and also for the rooms. Like if the room is like an illegal zone, but they want to say I'm qualified for 3 bedrooms, but you only see 2 bedrooms, and they took the sunroom and made it into a room, they would have a kickback for that as well, for the funding when it comes to it.
What do you mean a kickback? I know that's
So
a
if
bad
the
word,
if
but.
so if the room like there was a rental that Scott had and it's 4 bedrooms, but is like on the second floor, the it's like almost like it was a porch or sunroom, but they enclosed it. It didn't have a closet in it, but the closet's outside. So Section 8 would have like a issue because they come and verify that. And if you don't
Oh.
have a lead certificate, they're gonna make you get one or they won't get you approved for that. So if the room doesn't look like it, with the closet and everything else in there, they will kick back based off of what you qualify for the rooms and so forth. But they give
So,
startup fees and everything else.
so when you said that they'll hold some aside, what does that mean?
So they host them
Why do
just
they
in
do
case.
that?
So home base does this for people that, because they would do emergency individuals that's in shelters and so forth. They would take some of what they given you. So they usually have different amounts that they would give in certain time. Like last year in June, they were giving up to 40,000 and $10,000 additional bonus. So they'll price out how much the rent is, because sometimes they negotiate with the landlord. All right, well, they only qualify for 3,000, but I want to make sure they can pay their mortgage, the rent. So they would say 2,800 come in between, but then they would give a sign-on bonus to the landlord, and then they would take out of the 40,000, they would take a certain amount to put just in case something happens to the client that they can't pay the funding or do something like that. So they'll put some in reserve just in case. And that's for home base that I know. Section 8 doesn't do that. So home base is with father bills.
Thank you. Well, I think you're the go-to guy when there are
The one,
questions on.
yeah, Carolyn, the one thing I would note, hello, it's Scott.
Hi.
Hello. The one thing I would note with that is, you know, obviously the Section 8 and the home base are very different, right? The biggest difference is that the home base is temporary assistance, right? And so I've actually heard that they're not actually giving out any more home base vouchers. So if you have it, you have it. And they're actually going to be soon discontinuing the program. But Section 8 obviously is slightly different. So, you know, landlords feel a lot more comfortable with Section 8 because, you know, obviously it's based on a percentage of their income, and it's longer term. Where home base, what we found is that landlords they feel unsure because, you know, they had this assistance for a couple of years, but then in the event that they don't have a job by the time that this runs out, then are they stuck trying to get rid of the tenant? So that's the biggest difference between the two. But I don't know if many people have to learn much about home base, given the fact that I hear that, you know, they're not giving it out anymore. If you got it, you got it, and the program is going to shortly end soon.
So Section 8 doesn't go on in perpetuity though, does it?
Section 8?
Yeah. When does that end?
No, Section 8 doesn't end. Nope.
No, okay. Keep
Nope.
going.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that. That's really great. Thank you. Thank you.
Morning.
Okay,
Can
so
I ask
Rhode Island.
something? Sorry. Good morning.
No,
Can
hi.
this is Marwa. Can I
Hello.
ask something about the qualifications for the tenants who have the Section 8 and the home base? I'm having a hard time in Massachusetts with landlords accepting a home base tenant because they want him to actually qualify and be able to pay by his income without the home base 2 times or 2.5 times the rent. And
Scott,
I don't know how to deal with these landlords. It's like,
Yeah, that's
half,
it's
right?
not uncommon, you know, it's
Okay.
not uncommon. They can't. So actually home base has hit the chart with Section 8 where you can't discriminate against someone who has home base or Section 8. But with that being said, you know, they could have very strict standards with everything else. And so that's exactly what you're going to deal with where the home base is temporary. They're going to say, okay, we still want 2.5 times the income because, that's not uncommon because sometimes you'd be surprised some of these home base approved tenants actually have good working jobs, right? And so you know, but from a landlord perspective, they're just really concerned about when this home base runs out, you know, are you going to be able to afford the apartment that you took, right? So
Right.
you know, I think it's a matter of I've got some landlords that feel real comfortable and they want to give this tenant a chance to, and they feel reassured that, listen, at least they have assistance for 2 years, right? 2 years is a long time, right? So I think it's just a matter of finding the right tenant. I mean, finding the right landlord in the right situation.
And they usually put certain clause in, like
Thank you.
one client that I did last year, he ended up putting that he was doing like every 3 months, every quarter, he's gonna do a check and do certain things so they can redefine, like Scott said, they can work with it, but it's just depending who that person is sometimes, or if they got burnt before from somebody that had a voucher, because sometimes that's how they're a little bit biased for certain things if you look deeper into it or ask the questions from there. But they can put clause or certain things on it to make sure, because that's what they did for this other lady that, didn't have a job or was finding a job and so forth, just to make sure everything was maintained.
So let me ask you, what is the point, and has anybody made complaints about any of these people? Has anybody been through that process? And is it worth it because of like what you just said, Scott, they come up with different parameters other than what we're dealing with Section 8. Anybody called any of these people out?
I haven't. I know like I was dealing with a rental for one of my clients, I think in March, and she saw the realtor landlord had a camera and he saw the boyfriend or the kid's father dropped her off, and he was like, "Oh, I know the guy, I can't rent to them." But it was like worth the time to go through all that. Like I talked to Scott about it and everything, but like it would just be like we can find something else and go from there. But she had already said you're good to go and everything else, and that was like a whole thing. So we just scratched that and
Hey,
left it alone.
Carolyn, what was your question exactly? Have we called out the
No,
owner?
when you're saying that, well, I don't want, like what Jamal just talked about, that person, well, I don't want to rent to them. Is it worth, not is it worth, because of course it's worth calling them out on it, but is the process so difficult that people just don't do it and it just continues?
What the discrimination?
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
calling somebody out, filing a complaint,
So
this
so
person did this.
I called out I think it's worth calling somebody out, especially
Oh.
the landlord. So I had a situation where I actually represented just my two listings in Worcester that just closed last month. They were rental listings. I represented the owner, and the owner said, I really don't want home base, right? And so I educated her on the fact that she really can't just say she doesn't want home base, right? That we should do our due diligence. And so, so initially she was declining the application. And so I called her out and she said, okay. I said, well, let me do my due diligence and vet them just like I would do anyone else. And so they had great credit scores. They had a job income. They had income coming in, and they had the support from the home base. And we were able to move these two families for two separate units out of a shelter. And so, long story short, she ended up moving forward with them. So, that's just a testament to why it is worth calling them out, because if you can make a compelling story, then you can help out a family.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Thank you for all that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so landlord cannot legally refuse to rent to someone because they use a voucher. Real estate professionals can't refuse to assist someone with a voucher. Understand the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, including how it works, eligibility requirements, and the role of the local public and housing agency. Fair market rent. Be aware that the rent you charge will be limited to the fair market rent by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Okay, a lawsuit alleges that 26 different landlords and real estate brokers in New Jersey discriminated against tenants using Section 8 housing vouchers, leading to socioeconomic segregation and reduced access to safe, affordable housing for low-income residents. The complaint filed by the Housing Rights Initiative, HRI, cites testing conducted between 2021 and 2023 revealed repeated refusals to accept vouchers in cities like Newark and Jersey City. These findings promoted HRI to take legal action and address what it claims are widespread violations of fair housing law. So EXP was named in this suit, unfortunately. There's a link I can put in there as well after about that, but so that goes on. This is okay, I'm sorry, I have to read this. We have to do it exactly a certain way, so I apologize about that. I like the give and take so much better. Okay, so anything else about Section 8? Any other questions or comments about that? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for all your help on that. So how do animals fit into fair housing? So obviously there are two different types. We've got service animals and assistance animals. A service animal must be under the control of its handler. Under the ADA or Americans with Disabilities Act, service animals must be harnessed, leashed, or tethered unless the individual's disability prevents them from using these. Under the ADA, state and local government, businesses, and nonprofit organizations that serve the public generally must allow service animals to accompany people with disabilities in the areas of facility where the public is allowed to go. So which are the only two animal, oh, does anybody know this? What the only two animals recognized by the ADA as service animals? Does anybody know that? It's a dog and a miniature horse. I don't know how many people use miniature horses, but how cool is that? There's another classification of animals that you need to know about, assistance animals. They are not service animals, but they do have some rights with fair housing. I don't know about you, but everybody that brings their animal on the plane and emotional support and that kind of stuff. An assistant animal is an animal that works, provides assistance, or performs the tasks for the benefit of a person with a disability, or that provides emotional support that alleviates one or more of the identified effects of a person's disability. An assistance animal is not a pet. And you can get you can get certificates for that. I've got I have a friend with 3 dogs that are all there for emotional support, but just a little bit different. So the agent responsibilities, obviously first interaction, consultations, showing homes, handling and the offer of the negotiations, and closing and follow-ups. Has anybody had any issues with any of these things? I mean, we really went through fair housing and Section 8, which is great, but does anybody just have a question in their mind when they're dealing with somebody that just is like, I'm not really sure what to do, or have a situation like that? Probably not, because you're all rock stars. So there. So agent responsibilities: refuse discrimination. No is a powerful word. No compensation is worth it. That is so true. That's so true with some agents with commission breath. It's just not worth it. Or they don't necessarily understand it. But if you ask me, it's in your heart. If it feels right, go with your gut. And if it doesn't feel right, definitely don't. Okay, another. Oh, sorry. Did all these fancy slides. Avoid steering, of course. Don't steer buyers toward or away from any particular neighborhoods the buyers choose. Well, of course. Describe the property. Obviously, you focus on the property features, not who the buyer is. It's the same with any house. You don't talk about people in any of your descriptions. You talk about the house, facts and features. Regarding just advertising, so fair housing logo, you want to have this everywhere. And obviously it promotes inclusive housing. A lot of people put them on their cards. It's not a state, you don't have to in the state of Rhode Island put it on your cards or your signs or anything, but it's always a good idea. Okay, regarding AI, you have to make sure that there's diversity and inclusion when you're doing any advertising, people, logos. But do you see these two that are on here? These were created with AI. And it's not, there does seem to be diversity. There does seem to be inclusion, but it's wrong. Anybody have any ideas of why it's wrong?
Because you're trying to show that they're not segregated, so you wouldn't want to post that on social media.
What do you mean?
Because you have how you have the people there in the photos on it, you're trying to make it seem like the neighborhood is, a great area for, different people like the blacks, white, or Hispanic and so forth. Because I saw like a photo like this, and you had to answer it if it's right or wrong, from here, and it was one that I answered the right one, but it was just like you cannot have like with the family how you have like that picture and that. I'm trying to think about what it was yesterday that I saw in the
Yeah.
photo from it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a little confusing because of course, there's diversity in here, but why is it wrong? All right, even creating this very slide presentation required careful review and editing of the images. The only thing I can come up with on this is that they're not real people. I mean, they're obviously AI generated. So you still have diversity, you still have inclusion. Like, it looks like this group on the top right, they all live in this house together, which is fine, but I still don't, I still don't, and they didn't tell us exactly what the issue is here. So that's why I'm wondering if anybody knows. And
I don't know. To me, it looks almost like I don't know. It looks like they're all good people, I guess, right?
perfect.
There's no thug looking people, there's you know, eh, let me see what else. I don't see any, there's no like, I mean, there's no, not that I know, not that this probably really matter. What is this this was a picture of so this is key advertising and principles for
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, it just I
And
don't
it
know.
doesn't even say in the notes, as I said, I apologize for having to read a lot of this. I apologize for that. But this is what we have to get across. And it doesn't say, it just says, be careful of using AI to create images that can be unintentionally discriminatory. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I don't know. They all look like nice people to me. I know what you mean.
Maybe it's the fact that you're pointing it out. Maybe it's the fact that you're stating it on the picture.
Yes, I agree with Grace. I think the fact that you have to state
That you're
there's
even
black
putting that in.
those whites here, you shouldn't even have to explain that.
You
But-
probably
what
shouldn't
if
even.
it but what if it was just a picture of just random people? It seems like
I think the
it's
point being is you shouldn't even put the people in there.
The people shouldn't be part of the advertisement.
Right.
You
You're
just need a
selling a
house.
house,
Sure,
not
sure.
people.
sure.
Oh, there you go.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That does. Oh, aren't
Yep.
you guys smart?
Light bulb.
Nice. Okay, because I was looking at this for days going, what the hell is wrong with this?
I'm looking at like where's all the people in sweatpants and hoodies?
But
No.
there's one that's wrong because in the training it actually said one not to post and one that you can post. So that's why it's something more to. I just can't remember that my head is all. I'm trying to figure out. So there's one could post like that. It was like they had a video house signs up. They had the family on
I'm
on
gonna
the
say
grass and
I'm
stuff
sure
like that.
I'm sure posting like humans posting humans is allowed. So it has to be more than that because I can't imagine that posting human beings in a home photo like what we've all seen is wrong. So
I think it has to do with the fact that the bottom picture is all people. Where's the real estate? And the top one is you can see all the people, but you can't see the house and what you're selling. And you may have people in your picture, but they may be sitting at a table or they may be doing something in the picture, watering the grass. There may be one person watering the grass or somebody mowing the lawn or just sitting at a table, but they're not in front of the house.
And what the point in the notes are, just be careful of AI. So I'm not sure why the X's are on this. They're obviously AI, but maybe just the point they're trying to get across is if you're using AI, just be really careful because it can think, but it can't necessarily think.
Be logic. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to be logical.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure somebody's right in there. All right, let's see. Moving on. All right, digital advertising, target marketing, algorithmic bias, platform selection, and metrics review. So I don't know if you all know about what happened with Facebook and they had to change their algorithm. But it was 2022 and they settled with the DOJ, and I don't know how many I'm gonna say $1 billion, some crazy number. In a lawsuit where the DOJ cited that Facebook enabled and encouraged advertisers to target their housing ads by relying on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, and national origin to decide which Facebook users will be eligible and ineligible to receive housing ads. Did you guys hear about that? Or have any of you done Facebook ads? That's exactly what they do. They do everything you're not supposed to, from redlining to, who's the person and what's all of it. So anyway, they've changed that. So if you are doing Facebook ads, and so many people do them, it's okay now, but they got in a lot of trouble for that. So inclusive advertising language, perfect for anyone looking for a comfortable and welcoming space. A vibrant community for people from all walks of life. This is nice. Close to places of worship, community centers, and cultural events. That's an important one, I think. Great home for individuals, couples, roommates, or families. All right, what about that one? Does that cover all of it? Great home for individuals, couples, roommates, or families. I guess it does, doesn't it? Spacious enough for any living arrangement, a flexible layout to fit your lifestyle, step-free entry and wide doorways for ease of movement, and designed with convenience and mobility in mind. I think the biggest part of this is it's talk about inclusive and all of it, but step-free entry and wide doorways for ease of movement. That's not saying anything about, being accessible or if you're handicapped or anything. These are good. Does anybody use AI to write any of their descriptions for MLS or anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Use it all the
Yeah, I
time.
used it sometimes.
Yeah, I
Marvel,
use it.
what have you come across any issues with it, or
Oh yeah,
Um,
it does.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't know
Sometimes when
fair
you're
housing.
trying, sorry,
It
go
doesn't
ahead,
really
Scott.
know. Oh, sorry. It doesn't really know fair housing. So you always gotta your rules and regulations. You've always gotta read it. You can't just search it and post it. You definitely gotta read it and admit some of the things that it says.
mm-hmm. Mara, what have you found?
Yes, same thing. You always have to proofread it before
Yeah.
posting and make sure that it actually understands what you're trying to convey. Because they try to word it in a way where they think that's the right way, but that's not what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's great, but yeah, we still got issues. Fair housing advertising, what to say and what to avoid. Obviously, you can't say no Section 8, master bedroom. Obviously, all of that. Man cave, she shed, walk to anything. Everybody can't necessarily walk. Exclusive neighborhood. Remember how, God, I don't know you that have been in this for a while, but we used to say that all the time, which is horrible. Great school district, handyman special. So, anything else anybody find that just doesn't feel right? Oh, okay. Quiz time. All right, let's see. Can you say these things? Yes or no?
No.
No.
All right.
No.
No. No. No.
No.
Big no.
Nope.
Yes.
No,
Nope.
no. Empty nester says no kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Well, why no?
You're already giving them a presumption that the area is safe or the neighborhood is safe. We don't know that. They have to do their own due diligence and know that what the crime rate is. You can't say, this is safe and this is not safe.
And the other half of that is you're saying that other neighborhoods aren't safe. And how do you
Right.
know that too? So you, both sides of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Carly, you're thinking, I can
No,
see it.
yeah, I think no, because so just because like someone can be qualified and not be employed, right? They could be on disability or social security, or
Yes.
they might have other financial means, not necessarily employed.
Or
They
they
could
could,
have assets, yeah, they could have other
Absolutely.
assets.
right, they
Yeah.
could just have a lot of money in the bank, yeah. Nope.
Carmen had a question. She said, we can say this is a great neighborhood, right? That's a good question, Carmen. I mean, so I always go by, this is how I always do work my business to try to be even keel, right? Not say one thing or the other, is my threshold for great might be different than somebody else's threshold, right?
Yeah,
So when people ask
yeah.
me about how are the schools, my threshold for, school system or what have you might be different than theirs. So you kind of can't really say that. You can say this neighborhood has close proximity to this, and this. And kind of leave
And
it.
then also say, you might want to do your research on that,
Now,
because you're
let me
exactly
ask
right.
you, let me ask you, what if they ask, well, how's the school system? Can you give actual statistics? Well, the graduation rate is this. Can you give those type of statistics?
If you've got them right and you have them, but
Yep.
are you gonna have it? It
Well, yeah,
changes
well, you
as
would do the
well.
research.
On
You
the
would do the research.
training, they said you can give a link, or
I was just
so they
gonna
can
say
go
that,
so they
yeah.
can look and see the school districts from there. But you can just advise, but you're not the one that to give that, full details, because you're not, working for the school district, especially if it's not this different area, but you can tell them or show them where to go ahead. It's like us telling people about certain finances or certain grants or certain program just because we know about it, but you can just tell them to advocate so they can do their research versus secondary research versus us doing it. Because if I say, oh, this school is good, oh, well, my realtor told me this school was good, told me this was good just because I love the house because they want the sale. No, you just point them to it and they can go ahead, because that was actually on the training.
Yeah, and Scott, I know what you're saying, well, because they're facts, these are statistics, and you would think that that would be okay. But I would definitely give them a link, go, this is what I understand, but check it out for yourself, because you have no idea what their threshold is or what they're thinking too.
And I
Yeah,
know
the other thing I can think about why it wouldn't be allowed, even if you gave statistics, is because maybe you're only going to give statistics that prove your fact or whatever you're trying to do, right? So if you're
Yeah,
trying to sell
exactly.
the house, you're only going to
Right.
give good statistics.
Yeah, and
Right.
whose statistics do you look at? Whose do you trust? How do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Thank you. Taking action, immediately call your all right, so if any of this comes up, like we were talking about filing a complaint and whatnot, immediately call your broker. We can send it up actually get a couple of those going up the pipeline. Provide any documentation, text and support, filing a complaint. There's all kinds of advocacy groups. Another place to start, obviously, Monica's staff, who's like my best friend, because I got a million questions with her. So she's the legal counsel at Rhode, and she can answer a lot of these questions as well before a complaint is made, or even if it's worth doing, since she understands the legal part of it. And also just another more education. Housing resources. Prevention is the best protection, of course. Stay informed, practice consistency, embrace inclusivity. How you show up in your business is key. Books, classes, resources, of course. These are the support groups in Rhode Island. There are a ton of them. I know, Grace, you were I'll send you this as well. I'll send all of these. So you'll have these, but just in case, a lot of them are just location based, but there's a lot. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing all just your thoughts and ideas and experiences and whatnot. It's wonderful. Does anybody have any other thoughts or anything they want to go over?
No, but on that Fairhaven training, it gives you a breakdown on what you, because you did certain practice questions, it would tell you what you need a little bit more to learn about or not, depending on
Oh,
the sections that you do as well. And then they did talk about the mediation, like if you go to mediation, if somebody felt like something, what you do, what kind of paperwork you look at, like you were just speaking about, but there's certain paperwork and certain requirements that you do versus not that is useful. So it's very informative, intuitive for it with the training, which was like I paid attention to it a lot in detail. So some trainings you click, click, click because it's the same thing, but it's different. And it's like a map. So it's a map that you got to go on. You do different things, different scenarios, different questions that you have to ask. And if it's wrong, like it's gonna show that you're wrong, and then you get a printout of how many sections, because it's 7 sections that it is, but it's very lengthy because it's all video, and it tells you which one you're proficient in and which one you got to redo as well, just because you didn't pass that as well. But it's
the one
pretty
you
good.
did yesterday?
Took that and the ethics, yes.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I like when they tell you where what you got to concentrate on a little bit more, especially in something as important as this. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
All
Very
right.
informative. Carolyn, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for listening. I know we all go through this all the time, but it's always good to just go through it again.
Absolutely. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. Any other thoughts, questions? All
No,
good.
but I can tell you like quick sessions though, like before getting off on there.
Yeah.
So it has appraisal bias, tenant complaints, the parent trap, grow your business on social media, quick commute, safety for all, emotional support animal, foster flat seller, and symbols and responsibility, inspection, like if you're telling somebody about inspection, restrictive comments, and colleague conversations, so having conversations with, other realtors, accessible living, and seeking a loan on there.
You,
Oh, wow.
you guys know what training he's talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure. It's the new training that's required every 3 years.
Yes.
So I've encouraged the Baskin group just to get it done as soon as possible. So Jamal was one of the first to complete it. So that's the one
There
he's
you go.
referring to.
You're good too, Jamal.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All
Good
right.
stuff. All right,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks for all the sharing. Carly, can you stay on for 1 second?
Take care, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
Have a great day.